Outside the Beltway with John Fredericks. Talking to Americans outside of Washington, in the heartland, in our cities, and in our communities. About what matters to them. Outside the Beltway with John Fredericks starts now.
Outside the Beltway, I'm John Fredericks, and I am your blowtorch, your free speech in America, your oracle of the deplorables. Thanks for being with us. Trucking the Truth, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Thanks for being with us. As you know, I'm at the Republican National Committee winter meetings Tuesday to Friday, so I'll not be on the air. Sitting in for me Tuesday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m., Killer Carl. Killer, thanks for that. Killer Carl show runs 8 to 9 a.m. on Saturday, and he'll be sitting in for me Tuesday to Friday. From 8 to 10 on Tuesday, Dave Bratt, John Gordon Wednesday, Sheriff David Clark on Friday, and we're still trying to figure out Thursday, but we'll get there pretty soon. 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-5646. I want to get to Rosemary Jenks coming up here in a moment, but first, let me tell you about how I saved $15,000 in my taxes coming up in 2025. That's because I went to my good friend Julio Gonzalez at Engineer Tax Services. That's right, $15,000. You know, he told me they could do it. And they did it. Unbelievable. All we did was text ETS. That's ETS. We texted it to the number 26786. They got back to us. They took our 24 taxes. They evaluated. They've already been filed. And they said, well, if you're doing the same thing in 25, here's how we can save you $15,000. We said, wow. We sent that to our accountant, who said, you know what? I missed that. I'm pretty good at what I do, but, you know, I didn't really see that. And so we're going to save $15,000 cash money. I mean, it's insane. We pay him 5 to 10% of that, so probably like, 7.5%, 15,000. It's like $1,000. Pay him $1,000 after the fact, nothing up front, save 15. It's the biggest no-brainer in history. Look, the tax code is 2 million pages. Nobody can read this thing. But Julio Gonzalez and his company, they got the experts on it. And they'll go over your taxes, send them your 24. Now send them your 25 taxes before you file. Go ahead and do them, get your kind of doing, or your brother-in-law, whatever you do. Get your taxes done, then send the Julio's team and see if they can find additional deductions and savings that are legal, because we can't uncover them, because we can't read 2 million pages. That's what they do. Doesn't matter if you have a small company, LLC, you're on the gig economy, or you're just a W-4 employee. You own some property. Doesn't matter what you do. They're going to find you money there because they understand how this works. And all you have to do is text ETS, the letters ETS, to the number 26786. 26786. Julio gets you covered. We work with Sammy. Sammy's a 10. Thank you, Sammy, for all you do. $15,000, big money for us, so thank you. All right, let's get to our good friend Rosemary Jenks. Rosemary's not been on in a while. She's with the JA Project, the IA Project, Rosemary Jenks. Hey, Rosemary, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure. It's good to be with you, John.
Give us an update about what you're working on.
We are an all-immigration organization. It's the Immigration Accountability Project at IAPaction.com. We follow Congress, everything Congress does on immigration, everything the executive branch does on immigration, which, we've seen a lot from the executive branch. We've seen very little from Congress. And we have a ranking system of members of Congress, so you can find out exactly what your senators and representatives have done on the immigration issue at IAPaction.com. We've been following very closely the fraud in Minnesota and, of course, the riots in Minneapolis. And, all of this stuff is just shameful at the moment. And, of course, the Virginia governor, newly elected governor, has just declared that Virginia will be a sanctuary state. So she's inviting ICE raids into Virginia. And so we are following all of that and trying to get Congress to give us a sensible immigration policy, which we have not had for the last 50 years.
Define what that would be, Rosemary Jenks.
Well, immigration policy is public policy, just like any other public policy, and therefore it should serve Americans' interests, not special interests. And for the last 50 years, immigration policy has served special interests, whether it's big tech or big ag or, the Chamber of Commerce types. It's always been about serving special interests. We need it to benefit American citizens, regular Americans. And right now, it seems like that might mean we just take a pause on immigration until we can straighten out what's happened in our country. We had massive illegal immigration under the Biden administration. President Trump, thankfully, has secured the border, but we still have, as we all know, a lot of illegal aliens in this country who need to leave. And we have had mass legal immigration for the last 50 years at around 1 million per year. And it seems like it's just too much at the moment. We need to sort out what's going on, who's assimilating and who's not, who's committed fraud and who hasn't, and whose presence here actually helps Americans.
So, do you agree with what we're doing now? Do you want to stop the refugee program? Get to the bottom of the legislation that you're looking to do, Rosemary.
So one of the things that we absolutely have to do is stop chain migration. So, when someone comes here as an immigrant, they should not be able to bring in all of their extended relatives. So that's easy. We should focus on nuclear families, spouses, and minor children. We should, limit the refugee program because we have data that shows that if we helped refugees closer to their home country, we could help 12 times more of them than by bringing them to the United States. There's no reason to bring them to the United States. We should help people where they are so that, when the crisis at home stops, they can go back home. We also need to end the visa lottery. It's absolutely absurd that we hand out 55,000 visas every single year in a random lottery. And we need to rethink our employment-based immigration system to make sure that we really are getting the best and the brightest and not, just people who are replacing Americans in their jobs.
Rosemary Jenks, you've been working on immigration reform for a long time, and I think we're finally getting some movement on it. When you look at this, when people think about the refugee program, they think about people coming from, war-torn countries, looking for a better life, looking for more opportunity, the safety, maybe an opportunity to get a job, get a skill. But what you see is the Somalis in Minnesota that came here out of the goodness of our heart, 87% of them on welfare. 76% of them who've been here over 10 years are on welfare. So they come here, they don't assimilate, they don't get a skill, they don't need a job, they get food stamps, housing, childcare, education, welfare. They don't work, they watch TV all day, and then they steal, $20 billion. What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, it's crazy. We have had one of the very first immigration laws we ever passed in the United States was a public charge law that said you're inadmissible if you're likely to become a public charge, meaning dependent on welfare. So that has been on the books since the late 1800s, and yet we have never enforced that. The biggest problem, there are, 8 billion people in the world? They would all love an opportunity to come to the United States and, get a better paying job and get government handouts. And, most countries don't have governments that hand out money to their population, but we do. And so we have to decide very carefully how many and who we take from that population. Because if you're not going to come here and become an American, and partake of the American dream, which means you pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you get a job, you work hard, you climb the economic ladder, and you produce something that benefits your community and your country, that we don't want you here. We have plenty of people here. We don't need to bring people just for the sake of bringing people into the United States. So, we need to be a lot more selective. We need to recognize that there are some cultures around the world that are just incompatible with American culture. And, that's not anything bad. It's just a fact. We have to decide, and it's our right to decide, because immigration is a privilege.
Yeah.
It's not a right. Nobody in the world has a right to come here.
So
We
everything
have the
you say
privilege of
makes
deciding.
sense. Everything you say makes sense. I agree with it all. But the problem is, everything you just said is the opposite of what the Democrats want, because those that come here on the public dole, right, are their base of voters. I mean, it's as simple as it. It's like the Democrat Party has to keep importing these people in order to win elections and get power. And if they don't, they never win an election. The majority of Americans would never vote for them. So you're never going to stop it on logic, because the Democrats, every time we deport somebody, the Democrats see a voter and a foot soldier getting thrown out of the country. Their people. That's their people. And so they're never going to approve any of this stuff. They'll filibuster, they'll do whatever, because it represents their future power base and their current power base. So you're never going to get any of this thing done, Rosemary. Nothing will ever pass. You would have to, especially because the Republicans won't get rid of the filibuster. You're never going to get 60 votes in the Senate. So none of this stuff will ever become law. They'll keep bringing these people in. The Rhino Republicans will go on Fox News and go on other CNN and, say how they're, opening their hearts to other people. It's the same nonsense, right? So you'll never change it until the country collapses. That's what we're faced with now. And I don't know the way out. Do you?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I guess it's time for us to decide as an American people if we're willing to give up our country. Are we willing to just say goodbye to the America that has existed for 250 years? I'm not. I mean, I've been fighting this battle for 35 years, and I'm still going to keep fighting it because I believe America's worth saving.
All right, stop there.
I think,
Stop there. Hold that thought. Okay.
Yeah.
What you just said defines the 26 midterms. What you just said, you just summed it up perfectly. What kind of a country do Americans want? It's simple. That's what they're going to be voting on starting, I guess, when there's early voting start now, July, August. That's what they're going to be voting on, just what you said. What type of a country do you want? Or even, Rosemary, here's the other thing. Do you even want a country at all? I mean, isn't that now what November comes down to, Rosemary Jenks?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. This is an existential crisis. We have to make that decision, and there are some steps that could be taken. The Senate could go back to the talking filibuster if it's not going to get rid of the filibuster. And I will say I'm a little skeptical of getting rid of the filibuster because the filibuster has saved us from mass amnesty several times. But at the very least, they should require the talking filibuster, or as Mike Lee calls it, getting rid of the zombie filibuster, and then they could pass the SAVE Act. And if they pass just the SAVE Act, which requires proof of citizenship to register to vote, that's going to make clear that the Democrats can't harvest the votes of illegal aliens and other non-citizens, and that's going to have a dramatic impact. So there are some things that will help us defeat this leftist cabal that is intent on the ruination of our nation.
I mean, you think about this conversation we're having with Rosemary Jenks. It's almost it's almost like we're in Looney Tunes land, right? I mean, here's Rosemary Jenks saying, well, you know, we need to pass the SAVE Act so that illegals can't vote. And of course, we can't even get Republican votes to do that because they're afraid that the New York Times will say that they're restricting ballot access to people. I mean, it's like we live in, what was that show on Stranger Things, right? The Upside Down world? It's like we're living in that upside down world. I mean, who in their right mind wouldn't be in favor of proof of citizenship to vote? I mean, who would not be in favor of this? Well, Democrats that need illegals in order to win, that can't win on regular votes. The whole thing, Rosemary, is insane. I mean, did you ever think in your lifetime you and I would be having this conversation in 2026 in January ever?
No, and you know, honestly, John, I was around for 9/11, and I was in Washington, D.C. on 9/11, and honestly, I thought that would be the end of the immigration problem. I thought for sure that seeing those terrorist attacks, that our politicians would say, okay, that's enough. We've had it. We're done. We're going to fix this. And boy, was I wrong. I've spent the last 20 years, 25 years thinking, okay, well, if that didn't do it, what will? And we're at a point now where we're seeing what happens if you don't address the issue. And, you know, we've got chaos and it's got to end. And the question is, how do we make it end? I mean, when you look at polling on the SAVE Act, it's 80-20 or better support for proof of citizenship to register to vote.
Rosemary, we can't even get a majority of Republicans to vote for. I mean, we can't even get a supermajority of Republicans to vote for that in the Senate. We can't even get all the Republicans in the House to vote for that. And it's the most logical
thing. Well, it has already passed the House.
It'll go to the Senate and die there because there's no filibuster, and you know Murkowski will vote against it, Collins will vote against. I mean, it's just nonsense. I mean, we live in a time which, you know, you mentioned 9/11. 20 years later, New York City has a Muslim, anti-Semitic, jihadist, communist mayor. 25 years later. I mean, if I bet you back then on that day, hey, Rosemary, guess what? I'm going to bet you $100,000. You have to put up your home's deed, that in 25 years, New York City is going to elect a communist, Islamist, jihadist mayor who's a communist. You would have taken that bet in a heartbeat if I had collateral.
Yeah.
Right now, I'd be living in your house. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? Keep fighting, Rosemary. Keep fighting. All right, you've been a true warrior. People want to follow you on social media. Where do they go?
Social media, we're most active on X at IA Project. IA Project.
Rosemary, fighter.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being with us.